Okay, folks, just testing. Hang on one second. Okay, I want to make sure that you all can hear me. Give me a heads up if you would. Okay, so many of my friends are here, which is always the case. I love doing these webinars with Mark and Rory and Rightline. Thank you so much for having me. Let me just give you a couple of heads up. You can ask me questions while I'm talking. I don't mind. Um, I'd rather do it that way, in fact, than stopping at the end. So ask me questions. I'll answer them as we go. It keeps things fresher. Just want to go through a little bit of disclosures. We had the best January we've ever had. It is the best day in the history of Philadelphia ever. It's been 52 years, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And in honor of that, we're going to have a fantastic offer for everybody here. But forget sales, forget anything. It is so awesome to be a Philadelphia resident and to have the Eagles win the Super Bowl in one of the greatest football games ever seen in the history of football. It was amazing. It was amazing. For Nick Foles to catch a touchdown in the in the game, the whole thing was just incredible. So let's go through the bad stuff, the risk disclosures. You can lose money when you're trading futures, so you want to be careful. Make sure you know what your margins are. Don't be careless. Don't be reckless. Trade what you can afford to lose in this type of trading because this is risk trading. It's not IRA trading, and in fact, if you trade your IRA, you want to be careful. You could lose it. So hopefully you don't, and hopefully you make money. And we think we make money. Occasionally you get stopped out. Happens in every system. There's no system that gives you 100% perfection, and that includes us. But we have some great stuff going on, and we have something new that's I think is so exciting. It's really the main thing that I'm looking forward to showing you. I'm more excited to show you our new software upgrade, which our members get for free. We don't charge for our upgrades. Um, and that's what I'm going to try and spend most of my time on. I'm going to zoom through my PowerPoint because I'm not a big PowerPoint guy. I think they're just static and boring. But I'll go through it just so you know who we are. Um, Originally, and I say originally because our new upgrade is really changing us, we're a news trading company and some, and I will say news trading and some because probably the next email I send, it's going to say we don't just trade the news because we did a software upgrade that we didn't realize would change everything. Trader version 7 is fabulous. And bear with me one second. For some reason, it doesn't like my audio, and I would love to be able to record this. So if you give me one second, you know what? It's not going to let me record it, and I don't know why. So maybe Rory will be nice enough to send me the recording anyway. So let's forget the recording for me for now. Something happened. We use NinjaTrader as our platform. This year, we'll probably be adding other platforms. We're not going to stay just with Ninja, but At this point in time, we recommend NinjaTrader 7. We do support NinjaTrader 8, but I like NinjaTrader 7 better. I think it's easier to find indicators, and I think it's more solid. When I say that we trade the news, we get the news that we're going to trade on Forex Factory, investing.com. It doesn't matter what calendar you use. What you need to know is how to pick the news that you want to trade. That's the key. You could use Econoday's calendar. You can use Forex calendars. But the key is to find calendars that are clear and show you what news is important to trade. And one of the things that we do as a service, and one of the main things that we do, and one of our strengths, is we try and help you determine what are the best news reports to trade. Okay. You know, I'll happily list a couple of reports if you want before we go that we think are really great reports to trade. So we use Forex Factory. That's one of our main places that we find trades. Investing.com is a very important site. Let me show you how we do it real quickly because it's easy. So you just basically go to Forex Factory, open it up, and then you can see that there are red file folders. Those generally are possibly the strongest moving news reports, but it doesn't always work that way. There might be a time when retail PMI on the euro is going to work. It might be that the JOLTS report, which is yellow, is going to work. It's not going to, but you don't know that unless you've studied the news the way that we have. And I'm not joking when I say we've studied the news reports. I know what the last 12 10-year note reports did in our system. And when I go into our trade room, I make sure that our users know so they can make a decision. Do I or do I not want to trade this report? But the simplest thing you can start out by doing is look for the red folders. You could see when the news is 7:30 p.m. Australia. We trade the Australian dollar on that. We also help you to determine what to trade by showing you what index to trade. And that's part of being a member of our service. We want to show you what to trade. We trade on a schedule. For instance, every week on Sunday, our members get an email that looks something like this. And this happens to be this week's schedule. We traded all of these trades this week, and then we might have a few extra ones that I find because as the trade room moderator, I'm always looking for extra trades that Jay might not look at for reasons of the types of analysis that we do. He does longer term analysis than I do. I do shorter term analysis. So I might find a trade that's working right now that hasn't worked a year ago, but started working 4 months ago. Whereas Jay is stressing more the trades that have been working for years. So we have two different types of methods that we look for when we trade the news reports. But today we traded the WASD, the 30-year bond report. Yesterday was the 10-year bonds. But that just gives you an idea. We trade on a schedule. A lot of people love that. You don't have to sit and watch your charts all day when you're our member. You just can make your weekly schedule and decide what reports you're going to trade. It's a great way to trade. Our new trade, I'll show you, is a trade that we're going to use based on time. In other words, we have a NASDAQ trade that we do with it, but we're not going to sit and watch the NASDAQ all day, even though you could scalp the NASDAQ all day with our new system. But if you don't want to do that, there are certain times of the day when the NASDAQ is better to trade than other times. So that's one of the things that we'll get into in a bit. So this is what our report, besides that weekly report, every day, the day before the trade, our members get a report that looks something like this. It's called the HIRA, the High Impact Report Alert. It has the way we're going to trade the report, the stop, the size of our brackets, and I'll show you what I mean. We have cancellation rules that help keep us safe. We don't just randomly trade a news report. We don't just go off half-cocked looking at U.S. retail and go, wow, that's a report. I want to trade that. Let's trade it. And just start trading futures. And you got to decide, what are you going to trade on U.S. retail? What time are you going to enter the trade? What would your targets be? There's so much information. Is it safe to trade right now? So much information that we help people learn. And my goal is that you know how to do this when I'm not around, because A, I'm not a professional trader. B, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm a good educator. I'm a fanatical tester, and I can teach you how to trade the news, how to find the reports, and how to test the reports so you could try to keep yourself as safe as possible if you trade the news. Why do we use futures? I mean, futures as opposed to Forex. I'm not sure that I really have to get into that much, but if you've messed around with futures as opposed to Forex right before a news report, you know what the brokers do with Forex. They manipulate the pricing way more than a futures broker does. The futures brokers generally don't manipulate pricing before a news report. Your bid and ask stays the same. Things might change in a volatile market like today, but it's a known piece of information that Forex brokers try to make it hard for you to trade the news because they don't want you to make money on it. And I've heard tons of stories, people that were shut out from their accounts because they made too much money, people that were not allowed to trade, trades that disappeared. The futures industry is regulated, the Forex industry is not. And I'm not saying you can't trade Forex successfully to trade the news, but there are extra hurdles that you have to overcome. And that is a definite. Okay, so we recommend futures. We now have a multiple amount of trades. When this company first started out, it's been over 5 years, I guess. 2014, 2013, I believe they opened. They had the breakout trade, and they traded almost exclusively oil. We've morphed over the years into having software that's now uh, not only is it a news trading program, but it's a discretionary trading program as well. And then Jay designed the trap trade, which is a reversal trade that very often is used for bank statement news or news that we think and know from studying the reports. There's a very high probability of that news coming out and reversing very quickly. And that might be why we would use the trap trade over our second trade, which is called the breakout trade. And then our third trade is the standard range trade, which is just a trade based on time. Originally, we designed that trade because of the 9 o'clock oil open, which in many ways has changed. But then we made a change to the range trade because we realized it needed so much testing. It was very hard to do it on a regular basis unless you were willing to spend a lot of time testing. So we changed it, and now it's called the one-click range trade, and I'll show that in a little bit. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just like all the educators out there, we have a user area, members area, the whole bit. You can go on our site and look at old videos, look at old trades, get some lists of, reports you shouldn't trade. Of course, you can download the software. Just basically learn about news trading. We don't have member chat on our website anymore. That's an old picture. We now use GoToWebinar for our trade room. We like GoToWebinar. It's extremely reliable software. We know about, all the other types of software that's out there, Chatzy and, uh, Webinato, and, maybe one day will change. There are issues that make you want to use one over the other, and GoToWebinar is real strong on mobile, and we like that. A lot of our members like to listen to the trade room. They don't always trade. And we're not like most other companies. If you don't buy their software or rent their software, they don't let you into their trade room. If they do, they charge a premium. We don't do that. We allow anyone into our trade room. We have a trade room as a product, as a very inexpensive product. And if you want to just hang out and learn about news trading and just be part of our community, we welcome it. We don't say, hey, you got to use our software or don't come into our trade room. In fact, we make our trade room a place that we want you to come, whether or not you use the software. Of course, we think it's to your benefit if you use our software, but we're not going to penalize you if you don't. And most of the companies do. And I never understood that. I was always a member of a million different rooms, just like you all. And I couldn't stand it when I was charged extra just because I didn't want to buy Fred Smith's software because I was using another program at the time. I didn't think that was fair. So when I came here, I talked the bosses into just open the trade room, let anybody come in, software and no software. So that's the way we do it. And you know what? To be honest, opening the software to everybody opens dozens of different setups to everybody in the trade room. So if you limit who comes into your trade room, you basically limit your intelligence. I mean, it just makes no sense to us. We're very open, very transparent. You can see what we do in our trade room. We trade right in front of you. We always tell you if it's live or sim. And one of the main things about what we do is if we don't think a report's safe to trade, we don't trade it with our own money. Why would we tell you to trade it? We wouldn't. Okay. This is what our new trade looks like. This is the one-click range trade. And I think it's going to revolutionize our company. That's the honest truth. And I'll show you why in a little bit. That's what the screen looks like. Not very complicated to look at. Standard indicators, nothing very expensive that you have to buy. The only thing that people have had to do is become a member of a website that has indicators, because we don't give indicators out for free that aren't ours, because it puts you at jeopardy for copyright infringement, things like that. So we'll tell you where to get stuff, but we don't always give you free indicators, because if we're wrong and they're not really free, we don't want to get in trouble. But everything we do can be found, and the most expensive investment you're going to have to make into your business, besides becoming a member of our service, so far that I've seen, is an $85 purchase, so that you can get all the, and if you want your charts to look exactly like ours, you might have to spend $85. Okay. And that'll get you all the indicators, because a couple of them are not for free. How does the trade room work? If you don't charge anything, how do you make money? Because we charge for the use of our software, Jimini. And I've been in every trade room online also, lost lots of money also. And like I stated, they're very much out to steal all of our money. I know. We're not looking to steal your money. We just want a little bit of your money. We want to teach you how to trade, and we want to make enough money to survive. We trade. So we're looking to grow our trading account. Okay. And that's, I mean, ultimately, we want to make money as traders. And if I can learn to be more patient, we could have made 95 ticks in oil yesterday instead of 5. Okay. Because I was impatient. I only made 5 ticks instead of 95. But the point is, Jermini, I understand, because I was a JOBB member. That's how I got here. I know what it's like out there. I know what you're going through. I am you. Hey, Ray, how are you? And I think it's possible to make $200 a day doing what we do. I really do. And I think it's possible to lose 200 a day on a bad day. Okay. But you're going to have a $1,000 day one day, and you'll have a $300 day. It varies. Okay. And For news trading, the absolute key is to learn how to test the reports so you know which reports to trade. That is the most important thing. So if you're a NinjaTrader user, which we are right now, you must learn how to use replay in NinjaTrader so you could learn to test, learn that there will be slippage, learn that your testing is different from live, that in testing there's no slippage, in live there is slippage. So you have to test intelligently. You can't, like, for instance, if you're going to test tomorrow's Canadian jobs report, you're not going to test it when it trades with Canadian ADP, because it's not trading with Canadian ADP tomorrow, or it's not trading with Canadian GDP tomorrow. So the test you do is just the Canadian jobs report, and you look for 6 of those dates where that's what traded. So you have to trade and test intelligently, and we help you find those websites where you can find that information. What do we include with all of our stuff? I just said, explain that you get access to all of our videos and our website and our feeds and our YouTube channel and our software and our trade room. We don't charge extra. There's no extra fees for anything that we do. One day we'll probably release a program that we programmed with someone else, or that someone else programmed for us, and maybe we'll market it, and then maybe there will be a charge for something we do, because actually we're thinking about doing that right now. But if it's from us, we never have charged for JOBB, which is the name of our software upgrades, and we have no plans to charge for software upgrades in the future. So when you join us, you pay your yearly fee or your monthly fee, whatever it is, and if you're a full member, there will be no other charges other than your own personal broker fees and things of that sort. Okay, we have really good tech support. I'm a believer that if someone sends an email on the weekend, email is not closed on the weekend. So we actually, we answer our emails on the weekend because email's open. I don't understand these companies. My bank doesn't update their computers on the weekend. Give me a break. My money's there, but they're not updating it. I don't know why. The life is open on the weekend. So we answer emails all the time. We're really good about tech support. We really try to help. And our members, all you have to do is, I'll give you the name of any one of our members anytime you want. And I'll tell you, they'll give us a testimonial that I'm telling the truth, because we are completely transparent. We don't hide anything. This was a members trade. I'm sure it was more than a year ago, because I remember the member, he traded the oil report with over 10 contracts, I believe. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it looks like, and he made $4,500. That was the energy report that came out yesterday at 10:30. That's a lot of contracts. That's a risky trade, but he did it. He did it live. He crossed out his account, and our members love sending us pictures of their trades. So I didn't really want to get into the cost and all that stuff today. Let me kill the not the GoToWebinar, the whatchamacallit, my I'm drawing a blank, my Microsoft PowerPoint demonstration. Let me kill it for a while. I'll reopen it later when we get into price. I'm going to change the monitor that I'm going to show you, and I'll show you my screen, my trading screen. I hope I can change my monitor. I can. And I'll give me a second just to show my trading screen, and I'll show you some videos and give you an idea of what it is that we do here, because we have a lot of fun. Our members really enjoy being a part of our system. So here we go. So this is what our one-click range trade looks like, and I'm looking and I'm making sure you all can see me. But before we get into that, I'll show you a quick, as I said, we had a really fabulous January. Why don't I show you a quick look at our blog? We'll go to the newstraders.com. It's our new website. I'll show you our blog. Here's our website. We just redid it. We're working on it. It's a work in progress. And our blog, we post videos up there. I post errors up there so people could learn from errors. I post good trades up there. Learn Ninja Replay in 7 minutes. It's an excellent, excellent video for someone who wants to learn how to use Ninja Replay. But the main thing I wanted to show you was our first week of February. We had a phenomenal results, and this was our real broker statement. We started out with $9,900 in January. You could see it's all crossed out, and we were over 10,000, trading very conservatively, very mildly in the trade room, because right now we're trading mild, and our plan for this year is to start to go heavier. We're going to trade bigger contracts. We're going to trade more money, and we're going to take bigger risks in our room on the reports that we feel are safe to trade. And one of the things we do when we trade is we have our charts open, just like you see. This is Ninja Trader. And then we open investing.com, because investing.com has a fantastic feature. They have an economic calendar that you can open while you're trading the news. And the beauty of it is, while you're waiting for the news results, you'll see them show up live in real time. For instance, today was the natural gas report, and at 10:30, a couple of seconds after 10:30, the natural gas results showed up on investing.com. We also use a squawk box called Talking Forex, which is incredibly reasonable. And they also have an Asia portion of their service. And at night, when we trade the Australian market, you can just flick a switch and get the Asian Talking Forex, and it covers Australia. And they cover the WASD grain reports. They cover some reports that you just don't find easily. It's still difficult, honestly, to get a news result out of like today's WASD report. But if you want to see a live trade, I traded the WASD report today. And ironically, I told everybody in the room I was going to trade it with no targets. And my goal was to get out of the trade by hitting the close button, which I generally don't like to do, because hitting the close button is one of the worst things you can do. You're telling the broker, fill me at the worst possible price, please, that you can legally fill me at. The WASD report is a noon report. We show people the HIRA in every trade room. The report that we got the day before the trade, which tells us how to trade the report, the news report. And then as it gets closer and closer to the trade, you can see here, this trade just took place. It's getting ready. It's 15 seconds away. My plan was to hope and expect a unidirectional move, a single directional move in one direction, and then I was going to follow my stop up into price. And by mistake, I went over to the close button and I pressed it. And I closed myself out of the trade for 5 ticks instead of getting a possible 10. See, right here, what I really had intended to do was to take that stop and move it down into the price. I was concerned because the price reversed rather quickly also, but then it kind of headed down, and you could see my finger was on the close button. I don't really know what happened to me, but I just moved the wrong way. It'll happen while you're trading. You know, one of the biggest issues we're always dealing with, because news trading is so fast, are platform errors or programming errors or things that you do that you didn't mean to do. You have to have your wits about you. But I made $50 even with my mistake in the WASD report, and that was that. I could have had a better, longer lasting trade had I not accidentally hit the close button. And I truly accidentally hit it. And members in my room know that if I wasn't telling the truth, I would tell you that I didn't accidentally hit it, because that's how we do things in our company. We don't make up stories. We don't try to impress you. That was a $50 trade. You know, that's not the most impressive thing that I could show you. But again, we had a fantastic January. We had a January where the non-farm payroll, let me give you an example of that trade. Here's a trade one of our members made on the non-farm payroll. This is not a joke. It's true. He made $2,100 in, I'd say, 10 seconds. The non-farm payroll trade is a trade that takes place almost every single month. Sometimes it's 6 weeks apart. Sometimes it's not always 4 weeks. It's the most watched report of all the news reports. This particular member trades heavy, and he made $2,100 on that report. He traded gold. I traded the DAX because my testing showed that the DAX was doing great. And ironically, the DAX was not as strong as some of the other indexes. We used to trade bonds all the time until they became unsafe, but bonds happened to have been fabulous last week. The DAX was decent. I made almost $200 on my DAX trade. And very honestly, I'll take $200 per trade anytime because we trade over 30 trades a month. This trade takes place at 8:30 in the morning. You know I'm telling you the truth. There's my account number. So go try to steal my money. I have a crazy password. You won't get it. And then right before the trade takes place, you'll see what our software does. It puts brackets between the current price. Okay, it puts an order above, it puts an order below, and then bingo, there goes the DAX. We actually enter that trade a second after the news is released, and the trade's over. It was 7 seconds. I was up $172. What happened was, unlike every other index we trade, the DAX went up, and then unfortunately it reversed, hit my stop, and I made $172.39. And that was in, you can see, it was in 8 seconds. Okay, not a bad 8 seconds worth of work, if you know what I mean. One of our members insisted that the $2,100 winner wanted you to see his car. He's a car aficionado, and he also sells cars on the internet, and he uses, he's more often profitable than not profitable, and he always shows us these awesome cars that he gets. One of our other members uses NinjaTrader 8, and he made $380 trading gold on the non-farm payroll that same Friday. You could see I'm telling the truth. It's February 2nd, and I've crossed his account out so you can't see it. I don't want to show you our member trades, okay? Another member, I believe, made $450, same report, trading gold. It was an awesome report that Friday. And again, people make these profits. News reports are generally pretty fast trades. You don't sit in a news report the way you might sit in a discretionary report. Now, unfortunately, the NASDAQ is getting ready to close. So let me show you a quick one-click range trade and how it works before the NASDAQ closes, because I'd rather show it really how it works. So we have a strategy. Okay, we set up our strategy by clicking the word strategy, and then it comes up. I choose bracket breakout because that's the name of our strategy. I'm going to stretch a little bit, and I don't have to worry about anything except it's called a one-click range trade. I'm going to use a look back of 15 bars. That's this right here. I'm going to use 2 contracts. I'm going to go for 4 ticks and 6 ticks. I'm actually going to use 3 contracts. A 12-tick stop. My stop's going to move to break even if my first target's hit. My stop's going to move to break even +2 if my second target's going to hit. I'm going to trail my stops. And what's interesting about this trade is the way that it works. That's what I want to show you. When you put the trade on, you get a range, okay? And the key is the Mexican peso doesn't move, so I must put on the NASDAQ, the NQ 318, not NG, NQ 318, sorry, and there it is, 210 tick chart. And now I got to double check. Sometimes when you make a change, Ninja blows you out of your strategies. It's such a pain sometimes. But my strategy is still in place. I can hit true, enable it. And because the NASDAQ is moving, you can see it. And one thing that you want to do, so it creates our range, okay? And we use indicators. I can get into indicators and why and how we use them. But I want to show you how the trade works before we do anything else. What you do is when you think you have a trade, and right now I don't because the signal was back here. See when it went short? When I broke out of this consolidation, that's when I would have gone short. When I got a crossover of my EMA, I would have considered going short. Now is not a very good signal for going short because the market is consolidating in the middle. But what you do is you put the trade on if you think that there is going to be a trade, and it will trade according to the number of ticks above or below the range you create by the number of bars you look back. Very simple. And I'm just looking back 15 bars, so I've got a 15 bar range, and I'm using 2 ticks to enter above or below the range. Now, hopefully, if we get a little bit lucky, the NASDAQ will make a move one way or the other and fill us. And then you can see exactly how the trade works. We use time in all of our trading. You want to be very aware that the NASDAQ is going to close at 415. And I don't think you want to be stuck in the NASDAQ at 415. You want to be out of the trade. Okay, so let's give it 30 seconds or so. If it doesn't do anything, I'll show another video because we only have a limited amount of time. But you could see quite a few trades that would have worked. This was a trade right here where we got a change of color from the indicator that we use. Very, very simple to see the entries, and it started moving down. And we also had a crossover of our EMA prior to that, so we had a heads up, and also the anim squeeze gave us a heads up with a purple dot. So there's certain indicators that we use that give us heads up. We don't want people to over indicate themselves, so you could really do it with one chart, one trading chart if you want to. Ninja requires 2 charts because you actually make your adjustments on the right side chart. Okay, but your trading is done on this chart. It's a wise idea with the markets as crazy as they are right now to check the dome before you trade. Look at all that jumping around. That's a little bit dangerous trading. That does not normally happen on a normal, quiet, average day. You don't get that kind of jumping around. So you just want to be very aware that the NASDAQ is very volatile right now. Even though it doesn't seem it, it is, because the dome is really telling you where the ask and bids are and how they're moving. And now you can see I'm being pulled into, almost got pulled into that trade. Let's see if it's going to pull me in, because I'm going for 6 ticks. I'm going for 4 ticks, 6 ticks, and I have a 12 tick stop. And it can happen so fast, we might not even see it. Unfortunately, I don't control the market, so I can't make this trade work. And we are the kind of company that if a trade's not working, we're not going to take a trade just for the fun of taking a trade. And just because there's members in the room that say, dude, trade, I paid money for this trade. We don't work that way. We trade when we think it's safe to trade. Okay. And this trade was 5 to 10 minutes ago. It wasn't right at this moment. Although if the NASDAQ moves down right before the close, I might get lucky enough to get one quick trade in before we leave, or maybe it'll pop up. But you got to be very careful not to be in the market, unless you want to be, when the NASDAQ closes. I will give it, let's give it a few more seconds. I'll line up a video to show you. Here's a picture of two trades that we did this week. Here we go. Oh, look, it's going up. Maybe the NASDAQ wants to go up rather than because it already just reversed. Let's see if it'll take us. Let me move my stops way smaller, way smaller, way closer. So let's see if it'll demonstrate, if I could make it demonstrate the software. See if it does. And one of the safety valves is the fact that you have the range to keep you safe. If it doesn't burst out of the range, if it doesn't burst out of the consolidation, it keeps you safe because you're not going to enter into the trade. Okay. So it's the end of the day, tough time to trade, but these are the indicators that we use. There's one that for some reason the Williams AD0 lag has to be reloaded, but you could trade this trade with the ANA super trend and the ADV XMA alerts. We put the Ninja high and low on our charts and we make our own 3 and 21 panel to look for crossovers. Not a very complicated trade to do, but the way that it works is you could turn it off and on and trade it nonstop. Every time you click it, it can create a new range and you can create a new trade by putting the trade on. So let's say you just had a positive trade. It'll turn itself off. You can click it back on, turn it on so that you enter the trade and you have another trade. Now I'm in the trade. Let's see if it follows through. I'm looking for 4 ticks, 6 ticks, and it got me $50 in 1 second. Let's do it again. Turn it on again. Turn it on again. The NASDAQ's moving up. I've got 2 minutes. Let's see if it'll fill me again. It's following through, trailing stops. That's $100 I made in 2 seconds. Turn it on again, 10 seconds maybe. Let's see if we want to turn it on again. It creates the range. It's still moving up. I think maybe it'll follow through again. Come on, one more follow, bingo. So each time I traded, I made $50 because if it trades and pulls back, this trade is so safe and so very safe. If it often gets those 4 and 6 ticks, or maybe it'll just get the 4 ticks and give you, your 20 or $25 per trade. That's the scalping method. Our 10:30 a.m. NASDAQ trade is a 20 to 30 tick target NASDAQ trade using the same setup. I believe this trade will revolutionize our company because once we come up with more setups for people at specific times of the day, we will be able to add these one-click range trades to our schedule. The whole idea behind JOBB is trading on a schedule. And we're going to still be able to do that, but we're going to add discretionary trades on a schedule. I think it's the most fantastic thing we've ever done. It seems like it's fast for a newbie, Raj, but we teach you how to do it. That's the thing. We're going to teach you so that you could practice for a month. You could practice for a month, okay? Here's 2 trades we did yesterday, okay? We had the bond trade, the 10-year bond trade, and I'm trying to remember what the trade before that was. It was crude. Oh yeah, we made 5 ticks on crude. So this particular trade was bonds and crude. We don't need today's clock open because it's really a recording, okay? And it was 10:30 yesterday morning. We showed the oil trade a couple of times. Watch it again. It went down, grabbed 5 ticks. That's the one I left 95 ticks on the table because I've just been, it had moved so much before the trade. I was very concerned about the trade. Here was the bond trade. We trade the bonds at a certain time of day because we know it doesn't react the moment the bond report is released. It reacts a minute and a half after that report's released. Here's our bond trade from yesterday. We made 187.50 in 12 seconds. Today we lost money on the bond trade. It didn't work. We're going to double our stops for these volatile markets, and then we would have probably either gotten out break even. But today we didn't make money on the bond trade. We got hurt on it. But we're transparent. Anybody that was in our trade room saw us lose money. They didn't see us win the bond trade today. You're not going to win every trade. Any educator that tells you he has a system that wins every trade is not telling you the truth. Okay. The other thing that you can use our one-click range trade for, which is so awesome, is it can be used for earnings. Now it's tricky to use it for earnings. And let me see if I can show you, give you a slight idea how you might use it for earnings. I've got to find the recording real quick. Give me 1 second. If I can't find it quick, I did find it. Let me open it a slightly different way so it looks really good. Give me 1 second, folks. Earnings, open with VLC, which is a great media player, just so you know. And here's our one-click range trade. We use it for earnings, and we're learning to use it for earnings. Earnings is tricky because earnings doesn't always come out at the same time they say they're going to release them. So our first trade, we lost 50 bucks. We were trading Amazon and Apple. Okay, Amazon just did not move the way we expected. We couldn't get out fast enough with the profit, and we took a $50 loss. What was interesting about Apple, so here we are with $50 down. Apple opened at 430. Now, the market is closed from 415 to 430. So you have to make sure that you don't get caught in the gap before you entered the trade, okay? So we waited for the gap to take place, and then we entered the trade. I don't recall the exact moment, but we'll be able to see it. We have not yet entered the trade. It's 4:15. We're waiting for 4:30, okay? Let's get to 4:30. Here's 4:30. I see that we've entered the trade. So I believe we entered the trade a little bit past 4:30 when we deemed it was safe, that the gap was, it was determined what the gap was going to be. Remember, we were down 50 bucks before the trade started, and we were waiting for Apple earnings, which always move the NASDAQ. We're trading the NASDAQ on a 210 tick chart. I say the word always, 80, 90%. You could expect Apple to move the NASDAQ. That's just a way of life. And okay, we put that trade on 48 seconds after 4:30. Let's see. Let's follow it through. 4:31 and 1 second, our trade is on. You could see we got a signal to go short here. We came out of our consolidation while we were inside the range. We had a nice short range for earnings, which we've discovered is good to use. Here's Apple earnings, negative. I expected the market to go down, so I was comfortable putting the trade on. Of course, I could have been stopped out from my 20 tick stop out. I moved my targets close to my range. Okay, now watch what happens. The NASDAQ is going to reward us in this trade. It's absolutely going to reward us. And isn't it interesting? Is it going to reward us on the long side, or is it going to reward us on the short side? You never know. It rewarded us on the long side. I thought it would reward us on the short side. Let's follow it. It's going to get in the trade right now. There's the push. There's the push. Hits my target. I'm up 50, 90, 100, 85, 120, 125. So I made 150 on that Apple earnings play. And I know the NASDAQ pretty well. So if people watch in the room and learn how to get a sense for when it's safe to put this trade on, that's what we're learning about this trade. There are ways that you can tell when it's safe to put this trade on. One of the things you're looking for is the beginning of movement. You're looking for beginning of movement through the range. Okay, when that price gets up to the top of the range and you have a blue signal here and a crossover to the upside, and your Williams is on the upside, those are all signals. Those are all signs that you might have a positive long trade. So I didn't choose long or short. short. I chose either or. You never know which way the market's going to go on earnings. In this particular case, we got the trade. We got the 430 trade. We entered after 431 though. Okay, because we were able to tell when it was safe and when it wasn't. I believe this trade is the most exciting trade that we've come up with. I just love it. We also have a NASDAQ 1030 trade. It's much more of a scalp, it's much more of a trend trade. And we're right now developing a setup, a safer setup for this trade. We have setup number one. Setup number one is what you see here, 20 tick stop, 10 tick profit. It's a 1030 trade. Okay. So I'm going to put this trade on as we get close to 1030. You can see we didn't trade until 1032 because we didn't break out of the consolidation until then. Now we started breaking out of the consolidation. It's a pretty long trade, and I figured, hey, I'll make 230 bucks. I'll take my profit and go. That's what that trade did. I might have been able to wait longer. Okay. You could see we're not in the trade yet. Now I put it on. I see we're starting to break through out of the consolidation. I'm ready to get out of the trade because I wanted some profit. I wanted some profit. I made $230. This is a simulated trade because we are testing this setup. It's new for us, but we have 2 or 3 setups that we feel are reliable, and we are just now getting ready to start calling live trade rooms to trade the NASDAQ 1030 trade. And next earnings quarter, we're definitely going to do some earnings quarter trades, and we're going to do some news trades with this method. This method also works with news trading. So it's called the one-click range trade. And the fun of it is that the minute you're done trading, you can put the trade right back on if you're a scalper. If you've missed half the move and you can see that you still have signals to go short, you could put yourself right back in the trade. It's very exciting. Let me look at some questions now. We need a new face like me to drain the trading swamp. Thank you, Jamini. Is it fast enough if you have Fios Quantum? Clark, I have Fios. How fast is your Quantum? How fast is your Quantum? I have 150 speed internet, and I'm using an i7 computer, and that's what I would recommend. How would you put on a mini SMP and NQ in training trade room? Raj, you could use the ES for this. You could do the same exact setup, but what you might do on the ES, you might use a bigger tick size because the ES has, I'm in a recording here, but the ES has a much bigger, what's the word I'm looking for? Liquidity. So for the ES, you could use a larger tick size. And that would be one way you would deal with the ES. Okay. You might use, one of our members uses 1,000 ticks on the ES. Right now, I believe the market's still closed, so we're not going to get a drawing of the range. While the market's closed, you don't get the range, okay? But you would use, you just go to data series, change your tick size, and you could make it 1,000 with the ES. That would not hurt you. That would not hurt you, okay? So these are things that we learn, try to tell you. And Gemini, an i7 7700 CPU with 100 meg internet is beautiful. Absolutely perfect for what we do. Absolutely perfect. Okay. Our goal, and it's very important, is to tell you how to trade and what to trade. We want to teach you how to do it. And I'm running out of time. I don't want to go over for Mark. I've showed you our news trade. I didn't show you our trap trade, but our trap trade is a reversal trade. The next time I show you a very quick Canadian trade. This is a trade we didn't take. I tested it. This was a test that I did, and we didn't trade it because it didn't move the market. So this is one of those trades you keep testing, you keep testing. It came out at 8:30, nothing happened. It didn't move, it didn't fill. So Canadian building permits, even with a good difference between forecast and real result, just didn't move the market. So we wouldn't trade that trade. But now I want to make you an offer that we think is fantastic, okay? If I can get out of this recording. And that may not be possible. It's always possible. Let me get out of the recording. I'll show you the offer. The offer is going to be on a different monitor, so I'll change my monitor. I don't know why my screen is showing on screen 2, but it is. And hopefully I can show that to you right now. Screen 1 is what I'm going to show you, my PowerPoint offer. If you go to newjob.info, you can get our $497 yearly deal, and you can pay it in payments. 3 payments of $147 each, okay? 3 payments of $147 each. You can get our system. So you can lay out $147 and be a member of our system right now. Let me zoom through it so I get to the part where you see the offer. It's newjob.info, $147. This is our deal. It usually costs $14.97. I don't think you can do better than that. It's a fantastic deal. We want you to sign up. We want you to be able to pay it off. How many days is our room open? Our room is open every day, Jimini. We have trades every now and then. Sometimes Mondays are quiet, but almost always there's a trade. Almost always. Jimini, let me take my email. Take my emails. Procol, PROCOL 33. Okay. PROCOL33 @gmail. Send me an email and I'll send you the exact link if that's what you want. But you can just use www.newjob2bs.info. Go there and sign up for $147, and it'll bill you in 3 installments. That's a fantastic deal. Fantastic deal. We've never offered that before. 3 installments. Okay, it's ridiculous. www.newjob.info, but it's only good until tonight. That's the catch. It's only good until tonight. I would love to code to TradeStation. Someone is saying code to TradeStation. The problem with TradeStation is their data feed is a little bit on the slow side. That's their problem. They know it, but they have wonderful strategies, but I'm not sure that TradeStation is fast enough for trading the news. That's the problem. Can I type www.newjob.info? I'll send it to everybody. Their margins are high on TradeStation. I don't know why their margins are so high. It didn't used to be that way. No, I guess it did. They made them better. They've made them a little bit better. Here's the quote. Here's the link in your chat window. Okay. The link's in your chat window where you could see it. Here's actually what the screen looks like if you want to join us. Newjob.info. It's our Super Bowl deal, 3 payments of $147. Just go there. Go to newjob.info to sign up. You have my email. You get all this stuff, the range trade, the breakout trade, software, the trade room, the one-click range trade, no extra charges. You just pay for your brokerage stuff. There's 2-hour videos. I have a 2.5-hour video that teaches how to trade our system. It expires tonight at midnight, $147. Newjob.info. I don't think you can do better to find an exciting, fun trading system that we offer. Okay. There's my personal email, newjob.info. And if there's any last questions, I'll entertain them now. Let me just separate the questions out from the attendees. And give me 1 second to get your questions. If I'm missing any, let me see if I'm missing any. My email, Jamini, let me give that to you, is procall33. Well, you could use our support email because that way the whole company sees it. Support at joe-breakout.net. Okay? Support at joe-breakout.net. That's to everybody. It's in your chat also. So the monthly fee, well, the way that NinjaTrader works, you can get a $1,000 license for lifetime, or you can pay quarterly. I forget what their fee is, but if you go to ninjatrader.com, they have it all spelled out. They have a bunch of different ways you can trade for them. Their margins are very good. They are the broker. Raj, you can contact us from London. We'll answer your questions. Might want to use a VPS if you're in London. Any other questions? Ray says he had many crashes and numerous attempt Ninja fixes. He had to quit Ninja because he just had too many crashes. Hey, Ray, I'm just wondering if you just didn't have some bad luck, because we're doing pretty well without crashes these days. I mean, every now and then, if you use Ninja 7 seems to be more stable than Ninja 8. I'd like to trade to code to TradeStation, Ray. It's just a question of talking the bosses into it. I I think it's probably more probable that we'll go with something like multicharts.net, or maybe MetaTrader 5 or something like that, because they're free. TradeStation's not free. Richard asks if you could do it manually. Richard, the reason it's hard to do it manually is I think the one-click range trade is easier to do manually because you're waiting for a trade to take place. But news trades happen so fast. Our software, the entries are always automated. Okay. And that's the problem. If you do it manually, sometimes you'll miss your entry because you might not be able to get your orders in on time. But a lot of people do come into our trade room and they do trade manually. So it is possible. It is possibly. Right now, our software, Fritz, only works with NinjaTrader, not with MetaTrader. It'll never work with MetaTrader 4 because MetaTrader 4 does not support futures. You'd have to use MetaTrader 5. You'd have to, if we supported it. Okay, right now, NinjaTrader, we do have some things in the works with other vendors. We have some surprises coming out this year. We have a lot of surprises this year. Besides the one-click range trade, which is most of our members don't even know about it yet. So I got to get out of here because Mark and Rightline, they want to have their webinar. Let me hand over the presentation to them. 147 times 3 is good for a whole year, Jamini. It's a fantastic deal. There's no other charges from us. That is the charge. 441 it comes to. It's amazing. Let me give Mark the room. Mark, if you're ready, I'm going to give the room to you. Thank you for having us. Newjob.info, double B's, newjobb.info. Sign up, 147 times 3. We'd love to have you as a member. This is Lee Goldstein signing out for JOBB and thenewstraders.com. Take care, everybody, and thanks for listening. Mark, you should be in.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Great job, Lee. That was really a really awesome presentation. And, you know, again, we always love working with you because of your transparency and your honesty. And thanks again for that presentation. Just a little bit about myself. I'm the graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, former professor at Jefferson University in Philadelphia. And I've been involved in the financial markets for over 20 years. And I began trading the futures and Forex markets about 10 years ago. Hopefully I'm projecting my screen now. I hope you can all see it. And what right line trading does is we're involved in the mathematical modeling of closed systems. And my graduate work was based on the optimization of closed systems. At that time, what I looked at was underwater decompression schedules for the U.S. Navy, and I was optimizing them. And when we started working on the financial markets, we looked at each individual financial market as a closed system. And that closed system could be described by a series of independent variables. When optimized and placed in a multivariable equation, they could then predict with a tremendous degree of precision the future direction of price. If that didn't confuse you, I'm going to explain it to you slowly. Now, the most important thing in defining how anything happens in a closed system is to describe what independent variables predict movement. And in a closed system like the financial markets, they are moved individually by individual forces. And those individual forces can be listed here. And the first is the multi-time frame analysis of trend. The other is the multi-time frame direction of correlative markets. The other is the multi-time frame analysis of order flow. Then the multi-time frame analysis of momentum. Then we have to do a multi-time frame analysis of market profile and a multi-time frame analysis of stochastic. And anything else simply acts as a dependent variable, and what it does is degrade the precision of an entry. It keeps you out of winners and walks you into losers. So in creating our algorithmic automated trader, we only wanted to code into the algorithm those independent variables that were clearly responsible for the movement of price, and have it track each of those independent variables. So let's take a look at each one, and I'll show you how valuable they are. Now, these are exactly the same forces that I trade with, but obviously when you trade, you have a little bit of discretion. You can bend a little bit here, you can bend a little bit there, but the algorithmic trader is not going to bend at all. It is not going to allow any of these to deviate a tick from their predefined parameters. Now, the first is really, we just revised this, and it's really a powerful indicator. It's called our three-line indicator, and the first line assesses the multi-time frame direction of momentum. The second line assesses the multi-time frame direction of stochastic, including making an assessment for stochastic divergence. And the third is the multi-time frame direction of order flow. And I want to show you how each of those assessments are made. Now, the algorithmic automated is not going to trade unless it has line 2, stochastic, line 3, order flow. Line 1 can be yellow or green on a long, or yellow, red, red on a short. I'm going to show you why we allow that first line to be yellow and still allow the automated system to take a trade. Now, first, what I want to do is I want to show you how we assess order flow. Now, if you look at most trading systems that create a delta of each individual candle, it looks like this. And this number above each candle is the buy-sell imbalance on the dome. Essentially, what this shows you are the aggressive buyers and the aggressive sellers. and the differential, it differentiates between the two and provides you with an absolute number. So you can see here there's an overabundance of buyers. The value is 1464, but it's a down candle. Here's minus 2201. Here's minus 2239. And if you take this data and you create simply a plot of the data, it jumps around and it doesn't really provide you with any future predictive value of where price is going to go. So what we did was we took each of these delta candle values and only do the assessment on the two higher time frames of your trading chart. So let's say you're trading a 3-minute. It's going to look at the 9-minute and the 27-minute. If you're trading a 5 range, it's going to look at the 8 range and the 13 range. And what it does is it puts each of these values in a moving average, and it smooths the data to provide you with a delta moving average of the two higher time frames. And the two higher time frames really lead price on your trading chart. So if there's an overabundance of sellers on the two higher time frames, price is going to drop. If there's an overabundance of buyers on your two higher time frames, price is going to go up. And it's reflected like this. Here you have, now I don't have the delta of these candles because this is your trading chart and this is a 5 range. So what this order flow line is assessing is the two higher time frames and the number above each candle in a moving average. And when the candle is green or blue or orange or red, it tells you that there's an overabundance of sellers. Price on your chart is going to fall. When there's an overabundance of buyers, price on your chart is going to rise. So what this does is it doesn't set an entry for the automated system, but it gives it an absolute direction. And this is just one of 3 parameters that are assessed by the algorithmic system that all have to align. And what you're going to see is when those 3 lines are not the same color, you're going to get chop. And that's essentially what chop is. It's when independent variables don't align. And when they don't align, price moves in chop. Now here's another example. I wanted to show a few. When order flow is aligned to the upside, the algorithmic trader will only take a long trade. And when price comes up, breaks resistance here, you can only take a long trade and the algorithmic will go long. Now here's an actual algorithmic short on crude oil for 18 ticks. Now I don't have all the other parameters in here purposefully because I want to build the algorithm for you. And I don't want to throw the entire system at you at once. But it's always going to trade in the direction of order flow. And this is true order flow tracking. I know everybody has a description for how they want to track order flow, what the best way is, but this is really true order flow tracking. Determine the delta moving average of your 2 higher time frames. This is an 8 range. It's looking at the delta moving average of the 13 range and the 21 range. Here again, just order flow. And you can see when price breaks support, order flow is telling you that there's an overabundance of sellers. You can only go short to support. And then all you can do is wait for support to be broken and then trade. Now support becomes resistance and you can trade short. That's the logic of the algorithmic trader based on order flow. It has tremendous patience. Now, you may think that the goal of the algorithmic system is to get winners. That is not true. The goal of the algorithmic is to avoid losers. And if in avoiding losers, it gets perfect trades, you're going to get a tremendous win percentage. So what it's doing is looking to avoid any potential risk when taking a trade. Here's just another trade. Break of upside resistance, comes back to support in the direction of order flow long. That's crude 8 range. It's looking at the delta moving average of the 13 and 21 range, the 2 higher time frames. Now, those 2 higher time frames are built into the indicator. So if you're trading a 3-minute, it's going to automatically look at the 9-minute and the 27-minute. If you're trading an 8 range, it's going to look at the 13 and the 21. You do not have to put those higher time frames in. Here's another trade. Order flow is long. Sitting on support, you can go long. The algorithmic will go long. Go long off support. And it will not take a counter trend short until order flow changes. Now, I wanted to show you the MACD. Now, the MACD on your trading chart has very little predictive value in telling you where prices are going to move out into the future. And you can see right here, you have a MACD crossover to the downside. But, and this is how we assess momentum. And the MACD is a very, very powerful momentum indicator. And you can see the crossover, if you went short, really isn't going to get you anywhere because it's a counter trend trade. And any indicator that assimilates data from your trading chart tells you where price has been, but it has no ability to tell you where price is going. So we don't use the MACD on your trading chart. Again, we do the same thing. We look at the MACD on the 2 higher time frames. Now, here's with the MACD line or the momentum line in place. So now you have momentum and now you have stochastic. And now you have momentum and now you have stochastic. And I'm sorry, you have momentum and you have order flow. And when it breaks resistance to the upside, you can see you have a long trade. Now, I just want to say just one more thing about the MACD. You know, the system doesn't wait for a crossover. It waits for a crossover to give here a red signal for this histogram to move below the 0 line. But it's going to go yellow when the slope is heading down but hasn't crossed over. And that's why the algorithmic system will trade a yellow MACD or the momentum line and doesn't have to wait for a green. Now, I hope I'm not confusing you, but this is gives you a powerful and safe entry long here when order flow and momentum align. Here again, order flow and momentum align. The only direction the algorithmic can trade is long, and the algorithmic system is only set for a long trade. Now here, order flow and momentum are red. It's only set for a short trade. And you'll notice that when here is momentum and here is order flow. When they don't align, price chops. Here again, when there's no alignment of order flow and momentum, the only thing that happens to price is it chops. So the algorithmic system is going to stand down when the 3-line indicator doesn't align. Once they do align, it's set to take a long trade if all the other parameters in the algorithm are also aligned. I lost my cursor here. Hang on 1 second here. You could just hang on for 1 second. 1 second, okay? I'm sorry. Believe it or not, the batteries on my mouse just died. So hang on 1 second. Hold on for 1 second. Okay, sorry. Now, on the stochastic line is really the most complex because you know that everybody looks at stochastic divergence. And what the stochastic line does is when the market is overbought, it's going to stay green. On potential divergence, it's going to go red to tell you that you've got the potential for divergence. So it not only reads an overbought market and stays green, or an oversold market and stays red, but in an overbought market with potential divergence, it will change color. And an oversold market, it will stay red. On potential divergence, it will change color. So now you have all three lines. And when all three lines align, it gives you a visual encircling of the candle in whatever color you want it to. Now, the algorithmic system is going to read that as an alignment of order flow, stochastic, and momentum to the upside. Now, usually when the middle line goes red in the middle of an uptrend, it represents potential stochastic divergence. And you see here, stochastic divergence called a high. Here, it did not. Stochastic divergence got run over. But the system reads it and will not take a trade when there's potential stochastic divergence. It needs the second line and the third line green, and the first line can be yellow because it means that the MACD line or the signal line is heading towards the MACD line, but there hasn't been a crossover yet. And here's another trade. You can see the first line is yellow, and that's okay. Line 2 and 3 are green. This is doing a multi-time frame assessment of momentum, stochastic, and order flow. No potential divergence, and the system is going to look for a long trade throughout its entire move. It's very, very precise, and it very, very rarely is going to take a loser. Here's another trade. When order flow and stochastic momentum align, on both higher time frames, the chances for taking a loser are very, very unlikely. And when the stochastic line stays green and there's no potential for divergence, you've got a free trade long. And now the algorithmic system also looks for the 50 and the 15 to be green and the 15 to be above the 50. That's part of market structure that it assesses. So when the 15 and the 50 are green and the 3 line aligns to the upside, it's only looking for a pullback and a move up. Pullback and a move up. They're the trades. I just changed the candle color to make it clearer to see that throughout this entire move, the 3 line is aligned to the upside. Now, this is a full system trade. It's a little noisy in here, but this is a 2.5 point algorithmic entry. You can see this big X, and this big X tells it that the algorithmic system assesses the trade, and all of a sudden I threw everything in that it looks at, but I wanted you to see a couple of full system trades before I roll over to the other parameters and describe them carefully. Now, it looked at this trade, but it will not take a trade into the higher day. And it looked at this trade, but this one did not have a light blue halo, so it did not take that trade. Here was the perfect trade for 2.5 points. Okay, now I have to switch slide decks. And roll through. It also does an analysis of trend, and I think that this is one of the most powerful independent variables that there are. This is a completely different independent variable that is programmed into the algorithmic system. Now, this pink background is telling you that the 2 higher time frames are trending to the downside. So it's watching, not only is it watching 8 financial instruments, but it's watching 3 time frames on each of them. Now, it doesn't go pink because price is falling on your trading chart. Price is falling on your trading chart because the higher time frames are going down. And how does it define this? What it does is it looks at the 50 period simple moving average and our proprietary 15 period. When the 15 has crossed the 50 to the downside and the 50 and the 15 are red and price is below the 50 and the 15, i.e. all support is broken on both higher time frames, you get this pink background. And price is almost always going to move in the direction of those 2 higher time frames when you have that kind of market structure set up. So the algorithmic system is only going to trade short. Now, here's where the higher time frames are aligned to the upside on the E-mini. The 50s cross the 15 to the upside. The 15 and the 50 are green. Price is above the 15 and the 50. Now, this kind of alignment almost always only takes place when institutional money is involved in the trade, because it's tough to get through a triple time frame alignment like this. Now, the size of the trade is irrelevant. The only thing that's important is the risk associated with the entry. And you can see that when you're trading in the direction of the 2 higher time frames, the risk associated with this entry is exceedingly low. And that's all that matters. If this went 9 or 10 ticks, it's really irrelevant. Like I said, the system is arranged to avoid losers. Now, it's got an automated trade management strategy that is designed to milk the winner in the best way possible based on the average true range of the instrument at the time that the entry is taken. But the primary goal at the time of the entry is to avoid a loser. So now it's trading the direction of order flow, stochastic momentum on a multi-time frame basis, and it's also trading in the direction of a multi-time frame trend. Now, it also trades in the direction of correlative markets, which is a direct assessment of money flow. Now, we know that when stocks fall, like they did today, like when the NASDAQ, E-mini, Russell, and Dow really head down, what it is it's simply the rotation of money, institutional rotation of money, actually, from asset class to asset class. Now, they're pulling their money out, and they may be putting it into cash. But if you've been doing a lot of reading lately, what most institutions are doing is they're putting it into safer financial instruments. Now, the interest rate, they're looking at interest rates as potentially rising. They're putting into treasury bonds and treasury notes. They're also putting it into gold, which has been rising, and certain currencies. Now, this takes place on a long-term basis, and it also takes place on a short-term. So what we're doing is we're actually tracking money flow. Certain markets correlate. If you're trading the E-mini, they will move in the same direction as the E-mini 70% of the time or greater. And certain markets will move in the counter-trend direction 70% of the time or greater. And when all of these align, you get yourself a real nice rotation of large institutional money from one asset class to other asset class. Now, I know a lot of software claims that it can track money flow, but money flow is very tough to track, and this tracks it great. In this really difficult chop that the market has in a rapid market, not the algorithmic, only trading when all these things align, have really kept it out of trouble. Now, here's what happens when bonds, there are three markets in each of these lines, and we call them quant lines because each individual market is quantitatively weighted within each line depending upon its correlation coefficient. And it's technical, but I know that you understand. If the correlation between the direction of this market is 0.9, it's going to be weighted more heavily. If it's 0.7, it's going to be weighted less. The overall effect, though, is when you've got green, it means that money is flowing into bonds and its correlative markets and out of the markets that indirectly correlate with indirection. So the algorithmic is only going to take a trade long. Everything that I've showed you has only set a direction for the algorithmic trader. Nothing that I've shown you has set an entry. So now the algorithmic needs the multi-time frame alignment of order flow, momentum, stochastic, the multi-time frame alignment of trend. And now it needs the rotation of money, showing that money is flowing into the financial instrument or out of it in order for it to take a trade. So you see that we're constraining it more and more and giving it less discretion to trade on its own, looking for the perfect setup to avoid a loser. Now, I showed you the same move before. This is when there was the multi-time frame alignment of trend. And oftentimes, when the trend aligns, it's because there's the movement or rotation of money into the financial instrument. Now, we have 9 quant lines on the E-mini, the Russell, the Dow, and the NASDAQ. There are 9 correlative markets. And you can see how money flow pushes this market up. It also aligns all the time frames to the upside. And you've got a very, very low risk, high reward trading entry, which is exactly what the algorithmic system is looking to take. It wants to make sure that you don't take a loser. Its number one priority is capital preservation. And here's just another trade. Here's a trade it took, 31 ticks, $280. This is with the alignment of the quants. which is the indicator that I just showed you. Here's another one, 21 ticks and 240. Now, one of the last things I want to show you is market profile. And I don't want to go over it that much, except to say that it's based on the random distribution of data, creating this bell-shaped curve, giving you a value area high, a value area low, point of control, and creates very, very significant areas of support and resistance. When price reaches the value area high, it's repelled down. When price comes to the value area low, it's pushed up, and price is attracted to the point of control. This is where most volume at price is crossed on any financial instrument on a given day. Now, our market profile indicator accumulates data from multiple days. Again, nothing does an assessment of 1 day's worth of volume or looks at just volume from the trading chart or price movement. So between the value area high and value area low, we have fair market value, which is what price wants to stay between. And when price breaks above the value area high or breaks below the value area low, it tends to run. Now, all of these things have to align appropriately in order for the algorithmic system to take a trade. And what we also do is we assess a low volume node. A low volume node is an area of price rejection. If you look at the histogram, and we don't really use the histogram, we use the data from the histogram, although we project it now it's projected quite big onto the charts. This is price where there's almost no volume, where there's no volume. So price is rejected off the value area high and value area low, and this price is a point of rejection simply because no traders want to trade, in this particular case, the E-mini at 23.40.25 or 23.46. So what it does is it creates zones of rejection. So when price moves up into this area of resistance, it's going to be very tough to get through. And when price moves down to this area of support, it's also going to be very hard to get through. So the algorithmic, based on market profile, is not going to trade into the VAH or VAL and its associated low volume node or the point of control. It loves to take trades off the point of control because those are very advantageous trades if all else aligns. And here, just as an example, price comes up to test the high, the resistance, it fails, tests and fails, falls, tests support, breaks, comes back to resistance, and then comes down. It really does respect these areas of support and resistance. And if you want to take a low-risk trade, you can't trade into these areas of support and resistance. Now, I showed you this slide once before. It's the same slide. You've got to wait till price comes through support in this zone and then trade it short. Here, you've got to trade off support in the direction of order flow. I'm going to skip these because these are CA. Now, our cash metrics are really an indicator you'll never see anyplace else because we actually invented it. And what it does is on the futures markets, it brings to the algorithmic the ability to assess the internals of the cash markets. Now, if you take a trade on the NASDAQ futures, wouldn't you like to take it in the direction of the internals on the NASDAQ cash markets? And this allows you to do exactly that. When you trade in the direction of the S&P cash internals and you're trading the S&P futures, it increases the predictive value or the precision of a trade. So what this does is, it was 21 when I made this slide. It's now down to 16. It looks at all of these individual parameters, and you need 2 data feeds. You need a kinetic data feed to run the second indicator. because this is bringing you stock information, or it's coming from the cash markets. And it breaks down the cash metrics into the ratio of up-down volume, advanced decline line, upticking versus downticking, advancing declining issues on specific ETFs, upticking and downticking on specific ETFs as well. The upper line are 6 tick metrics, and the lower line are 6 volume metrics. And for some reason, the tick data comes in a lot faster, or changes a lot faster than the volume metrics. Now this is just, I pull these off of stocks. It doesn't trade stocks, but you can see when the cash metrics are green, you're going to take a long trade on stocks, and you're going to take a long trade on futures. Now I do have, let me just go to the futures. These are Netflix, but this is not from the algorithmic system. Here's the NASDAQ. Now, this is in the direction of the cash metrics. It's looking at the direction of the cash markets, not the trend, but the cash internals. And you can see this is a 3-minute of the NQ taking a consolidation signal short for 9 points in the direction of the cash metrics. Here's the E-mini in the direction of cash internals, taking a 9.25 point move in the direction of the alignment of the cash metrics. Now, the algorithmic system is also going to track this line. Now, this is a market open trade that you can take on a discretionary basis. It's not an algorithmic trade. Now, let's take a look at the specific entries. Everything I showed you up till now only relates to the direction of the trade. I did not show you any specific entries. And these are the 3 entries that the algorithmic system looks for. It looks for a strategy entry, and that's this square. Now, the strategy entry is a multi-time frame assessment entry. It looks at price action and market structure on 3 different time frames. And it is a smart entry in and of itself. When the algorithmic sees this forming, and it sees it forming very early on when the candle begins, it doesn't see it forming late in the candle. It's going to flash early in the candle. If the 15's down, the 50's down, or the 15 and the 50 are down, and all the other parameters I told you align, it's going to set to take a short trade 1 tick below the close of this candle. And the likelihood of this trade following through to the downside is exceedingly high. Now, here are 2 signals, strategy signals. Now, this wouldn't have been an algorithmic trade, but it's still a strategy signal that the algorithmic will assess. The 15 is not crossed the 50. The 50 is green, no trade. Here, you've got the 15 green, the 50 green. Everything looks good. We're not looking at all the other parameters. If they all align, you've got yourself a very low risk, high reward trade on crude. The other is the ABC entry. Again, you need all the other parameters to mix. And there's still about a half a dozen I didn't go through. And if I went through them, it would take us a couple of hours for this whole webinar to finish. It's the C candle. Now, the software creates this A and this B and this C. Anytime 2 candles of the same color and continuity occur, the software puts an A. And then it looks for the first counter trend candle, this long candle. And these are all traders who've decided they want to take a long trade in clearly what's a downtrend. Now, they're calling a bottom here, and they're going long, which is what a lot of commercial traders like us, the small traders who are trading oscillator divergence and MACD divergence do. which is why so many, like 80 and 90 to 95% of day traders go bankrupt, because they take these kind of signals, and they're taking this uptrend here, this uptrend here, this uptrend here, when clearly the only direction you can trade is short. Now, what we look for and what the system looks for is a potential C engulfing candle. As soon as the candle opens here, the C starts to flash. The system will set a close or an entry one tick below the close of the C very early. So you're going to get that signal on your charts in your system fast. There's never any lag. There's always a little bit of lag time in the nanoseconds, but the system sets up the entry so quickly, it's not going to be an issue. Now, if the C does not evolve, and for some reason this candle does not engulf, the system will take the exit, it will take the entry and close it out for you. So if it doesn't get the entry that it wants, it will close the trade. So it enters, it wants it to take a trade one tick below the close of the engulfer. If this doesn't engulf, it will close the trade and take the trade out. Here's another C candle, always in the direction of the multi-time frame trend. The system will never counter trend trade because it's trading against the direction of institutional money. So it's always in on a trend trade. And it's always looking at 3 time frames. Here's 2. 50 and 15 red, 50 and 15 green. I don't have all the other parameters. I just wanted to tease out one independent variable at a time to show you if we get a total alignment, if order flow, stochastic, and momentum were red, multi-time frame trend was red. If the cash metrics, well, this is crude, so there are no cash equivalents. So there are no cash metrics here. There are only cash metrics on the E-mini, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the Russell. But if the quant lines align, showing us that money flow is coming out of this financial instrument, this is a very, very low risk, high reward winner. Now we have a consolidation entry, and this is the 3rd entry the system looks for. Again, it's a smart entry. It does the multi-time frame assessment of market structure and price action. And what makes this really this is my favorite entry when I trade on a discretionary basis. And why the reason I like it is consolidation is a period of time when the power of the bulls equals the power of the bears. You can see you have an up candle here, you have a doji, you have a down candle, an up candle, a down candle, an up candle. So what's happening is you're trapping traders in both the direction of the trend and then the counter trend direction. Now, most systems will not allow you to take the trade until the consolidation pattern breaks. So you're going to get in on the next candle. And your follow through is not as good as if you get in prior to the actual break of consolidation. This system really predicts accurately the break of consolidation because the 2 higher time frames will telegraph it to it first. And it's going to create a triangle here, intra-candle. Now, I purposely showed you 2 in a row. It's going to take the first one. Now, it's going to come back and give you some heat, but it's going to give you a really, really low risk, high reward winner. Now, it's not going to fire this unless market structure and price action work, and will only actually take the trade unless, again, all of those independent parameters, all of those independent variables align. They all have to be on your side in order for this trade to work, or for the auto to take the trade. Here's another trade. Now, the auto would not take this trade. The 15 is not above the 50, but I still wanted to show you the signal firing and the potential long trade. But this is not going to be an algorithmic entry. Here are two, 40 to the upside and 10 to the downside. And with this kind of volatility, you can see you get this rapid change in direction. Now, this is a trade at a consolidation algo wouldn't take because it's right into support, or actually into resistance. It's going to censor this trade. It will not trade into the 15 or the 50 or any market profile lines, high of day, low of day, or any pivots. It's got to be free and clear trade. Now, sometimes it's an agonizing trade because it breaks the support or resistance area, but the algo will not take it. Now, these are just trades on, again, here's crude for 19, crude for 44. Here's the E-mini. I've got all correlative markets red, money flowing out, momentum down, order flow down for 3.25 points. And you can see the background bias is pink, telling you that there's a multi-time frame alignment and trend to the downside. Now, this is just the quant lines looking at money flow. You can see the price comes right back to the point of control. It's surrounded by blue, and up it goes. It's a great trade to the downside on the E-mini, 19 ticks in the direction of money flow and the multi-time frame alignment of trend, no underlying support, 4.75 points. And here's another long on the E-mini. Now, there's a lot of trades. Now, the system works great, but we don't have it set up on stocks or for Forex. So I'm going to skip the stocks and Forex. We have testimonials from traders that use it on a discretionary basis. These are both top step traders. They both make a ton of money. They've been with us 2.5 years. This is Jersey Tony. This is Trader D. He did the best in 2016 for Top Step in the $50,000 combine. That's him, D Moore, $54,000. Now, the auto trader removes human discretion. So I'm going to show you its performance. Let me bring it in here. I've got it somewhere. So that's all that matters, really, at the end of the day, is how does it do? And let me drag the performance in. Here we go. Now you see it says optimized trader. We're going to be moving to that website just because Rightline doesn't really reflect anymore our mandate as a company. What we really do is we're looking to optimize closed systems, and through the way that we work, it just doesn't reflect what we do anymore. And there's other websites that are very similar to our name. So this is where we're going to be moving soon. But you can see this is the automated algorithmic trading system results for part of 2016, all of 2017. So you can see the equity curve is at $449,843.01. Now, for most of this time, it's trading 2 contracts. And we have it trading 2 on some financial instruments, on 4 on others. You can set it for as few or as many contracts as you want. It's up to you. And over the course of 2 years, it's taken 73% winners and 27% losers. And these are what it's done the best on. It's done the best on gold, then the NASDAQ and the 30-year Treasury bond are next, then the E-mini. So far on the pound, Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, we just started. Those are brand new markets. And here's the accumulated winners or losers for the period of time. And you can see the goal is to keep the number of losers down, and the number of winners far outstrip the number of losers. And this is really nice profit for a period of time where you do nothing except have to sit on your hands. And this just breaks out each individual trade by month, by instrument. So let me go back to the slides. Now, this is the webinar special, and then after that, I'll answer any questions that you have. Now, it's normally $3,900, and that's a lifetime license with all upgrades and add-ons. But we're going to give it to you for less. And the bonus number one is to get 3 months in the trading room with me. Last week we made over $2,000. This week we've had a technical problem because of all the volume, and we had to reset our workspace. We just fixed today, unfortunately. It wasn't equipped to handle all the volume that came through, so we had to completely reformat it. Now it's ready to go again. You also get 10 weeks in I call it trading school, but really I teach you how to trade our methodology. And you also get access to our video tutorial library, and everybody gets that. They get gold, crude, the E-mini, and the NASDAQ markets. And that's for $1,899 or 2 payments of $9.99 a month apart. And the first 5 orders we're going to give you the euro currency, the B pound, the British pound, which is the 6B, the Canadian dollar, which is the 6C, and the Japanese yen, which is the 6J. You'll get that immediately. And the first 5 will also get next month soybeans, wheat, corn, silver, and copper, which we should be adding by mid-March. So that's the offer. Let me see if there are any questions. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me see the questions here. Hang on one sec. Okay, let me just bypass what's his name's questions and Lee's questions. I'm still moving through Lee's. Okay, Richard, does this work on a manual? Okay. Well, Ray, this question came in at 425. I'm not sure. I think that might have been for Lee, but if you're talking to us, we do the whole configuration for you. We'll make sure that everything works for you. Hold on one sec. Okay, the average risk reward on the trade, Damien, is variable because I didn't want to get into it. But what happens is the system looks at the average true range of the instrument. It looks at the average true range of the market you're taking at the time the trade enters. If it's a very volatile market, it's going to set your targets out to give you more opportunity to take a winner. And what it does is it exits on a reversal candle. So if it goes 2 or 3 ticks in your direction, it's going to take it out with only a partial loss. So there's no fixed risk to reward on a given trade. If the market is real volatile and really moving fast, your potential reward increases. And your potential risk is always minimized by not letting the trade go all the way to your stop unless it never goes a tick in your direction. That's what I meant by trying to protect your capital and trying to maximize the amount of money that you make on an entry. So I couldn't give you an exact. You know, you're looking to make between $300 and $500 on about $250 worth of risk in general. And that's about the best you can do trading a leveraged instrument like these, like the futures. Now, 75% of your trades are winners and 25% are losers. That's going to give you a great equity curve. Damien, we do have a patent. We have a patent pending on a piece of software that I did not show you. So again, I did not want to make it too complicated. But our NDT trade execution platform, we filed a patent a year and a half ago on it, and the patent is still pending. I don't have a slide, but we actually do have proprietary software that's a part of this package. When I say proprietary, I actually mean it seriously. It takes a long time for a software patent to go through because they have to read the code, and we've been waiting on it for a long, long time. But it is proprietary, and it says so on the NDT. It says patent pending, and it is. No, it's not. It isn't too good to be true, Damien, because this is real. I mean, these are the results that we get. I mean, the system is so constrained to take a trade that what it does. Remember, it's looking at a lot of markets. It's looking at the euro, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, the yen, gold, crude, the E-mini, and the NASDAQ. And it's looking at 3 time frames on all of these markets simultaneously. Eventually, we're going to have it on soybeans, wheat, corn, silver, and copper. The only thing that constrains it is how many markets so that we can put the algorithm on, and we're just going to keep adding it because it's so difficult for everything to align and get a trade. That's why its win percentage is so high. Yes, Andres, it's completely auto. It's a hands-free system. It's going to get you into the trade. It's going to manage it for you, and it's going to take you out of the trade. You don't have to do anything. Hang on one second here. Here we go. Up. I just got thrown. I'm sorry about that. We got booted out of the room for a second. Let me see if there's still any questions. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. Hold on, Arthur. I'm going to get to you. Okay, hold on. All right, hang on a minute because there's a bunch of questions, okay? The targets and stops, okay. There's no monthly fee, Andres. The $18.99 is for a lifetime license. The first 5 get the additional markets, and it's yours. We don't charge you a yearly fee after that or a monthly fee. That's it. There's no additional costs. No above and beyond that. Now, it only works on NinjaTrader right now, Fritz. The hours of trading, this is our own platform, Fritz, our own. Sure, Andres, we'll send you the link to buy. Not a problem. The link's in the chat box, Andres. Do you see it? Okay, Arthur, this system sends the order directly to your Superdome. It sends it directly to your control panel, and for there it goes directly to your broker. So what we don't have the algorithm here. The algorithm is housed in a server in Chicago. So we get the signal at the same time that you do. So everybody has an equal opportunity to get in, but one problem we don't have is getting you into the trade. It sends it directly to your control panel and executes the trade there. Yeah, that's correct, Arthur. And listen, the only parameter that we cannot, and I want to be completely transparent, the only potential parameter that we can't adjust for is slippage. Occasionally, you're going to get a tick of slippage on a trade. It's only going to matter if the trade only goes 5 ticks and the first target's 5. Sometimes we get a tick of slippage and you don't. Sometimes you get a tick of slippage and we don't. It is not a common problem, but it happens. But that's a problem inherent in the market itself, not in the system. And there's no way that it can adjust because it's not going to know your exact entry. It sets the targets, it sets the stops, and it automatically adjusts the system. So except for those few trades, and they're rare and far between, you're going to get the same profit amount that we get. It is trading the NQ now. The commodities will be on by middle of next month, Tim. We'll have corn, wheat, soybeans, silver, and copper. I hope you have sound. Let me see. You should have sound now. Yeah, you should have sound now. Hang on one second here. Everyone has sound, Arthur. We got it now. Okay, great. No special computers needed, Paul, because all of the software isn't housed on your computer. The software really is housed it's too big to house in a computer. It's housed in a server. And what we put on your computer and configure for you, and Sergio will do that for you, is the system that allows the signals to come in and allows you to execute the trade, sets up your target, sets up your stops, and auto manages the trades. So it's only a piece of the entire system. Now you can censor a trade if you don't like it, and it sends out signals 24/7. If you want to trade gold in the middle of the night, you can turn it on. Your discretionary ability is to determine when each instrument is on and when each instrument is off. The meat of the day is from 7:30 in the morning, because you get some great trades on the euro currency, gold, and crude, till about 12:30 in the afternoon. That's the really good time to take a trade. But if you want to trade it in the middle of the night, you can. And we have some traders that do. But it sends out signals all the time, around the clock, on every market. Sure, we're going to send the recording out to everyone. Hang on one second, just let me turn the sound off. Okay, Arthur, what? Okay, but when it sends the order to my platform, then it trades at once from my SuperDerm directly to my account. That's correct, Arthur. Once it executes on your control panel, it will go right to your broker and will execute the trade. You don't have to do anything. And we don't, the system doesn't make any difference to the system who your broker is. I mean, if you're set on SIM, it'll execute a SIM order. If you're set on live, it will execute the trade with your broker. It'll set up the stops and targets with your broker. You don't have to do anything. It's up, but it's only about 85% built. It's still got a lot of holes to it, Tim. So we just pulled the performance page out, and you're welcome to browse it, but it's just not a completed website yet. Hopefully we'll have it up in about a week to 10 days. So, you're welcome to take a look at it. It's basically just a better website than Rightline. And I think it differentiates us a lot more than Rightline does. There's right-sided trading now and a whole bunch of right this and right that. And really our mandate is the optimization of software systems. Well, James, you have to just send us your back end, and we'll take a look at that. It works on NinjaTrader 7 now, Andres. What Sergio will do is Sergio will configure it on your NinjaTrader 7, Andres, to take the trades. You understand? You don't have to do anything. We configure it so when the server sends out an entry, it's going to go right up into your control panel on NinjaTrader 7. That's all. I mean, it doesn't require any input from you except to turn it on. When you open your NinjaTrader in the morning, it's always set to off as a default to prevent you from taking a trade when by mistake. So Arthur writes, so if you use a multi-broker NinjaTrader license, you can have your orders instantly routed to your brokerage account of the chosen setup. Who sets up which account I want to send? Sergio will do that for you, Arthur. You just let him know, and he'll configure the whole system for you. You don't have to worry about that. Not a problem. I mean, he does all the tech. I'm tech, I'm pretty tech naive, and I know that most people are. So that's why we have him. He will set the system up. We recommend you run it on SIM for the first week. Make sure it takes every single trade appropriately. And if there's any glitch or any problem, just let him know and he'll fix it. So you don't have to worry about any of that. So listen, everyone, I really appreciate your coming in. It's a very, very effective system. And it's done real well for us. Sure. Yes, it was real money, and I'll show you from when to when. Hold on a minute. It's from January of 16 through January of 18. And here's the number of losers. Here's the number of winners. And here's the actual numbers. It took 462 trades, 462 winners, 170 losers. Cumulative profit was about $50,000. Now, this is on 2 contracts, and it still only trades 2 contracts on some instruments. But ultimately, the number of contracts that you want to trade is up to you. We will give you a recommended number, but you can set, we have people trading 20 contracts. So that's totally up to you on as far as that's concerned. And here is, and these are how much it made on each particular instrument that it traded. Now, the pound, Canadian dollar, the euro, and the yen are brand new. The big ones are gold, NASDAQ, S&P, and S&P E-mini, and the 30-year Treasury. And we don't trade the 30-year Treasury anymore. We took it off because in the last couple of months of the times we traded it, it wasn't trading as well. So it dragged us back down. And what we do every 3 months is we recheck every instrument and make sure they're performing really well. And if they don't, we take them off, we rotate them out, and we'll rotate other ones in. Because markets trade differently. You can't assume that gold is always going to be as great as it is, and we just keep a watch on them. We never leave the system static. Yes, it's all hands off. It does, yes. It enters and exits the trade. You don't have to do anything, Arthur. And what I do at the end of every trading session in the room is I go over every trading entry that the Algorithmic has taken. I show the time, I show the entry price, I show the targets, I show everything. So if you're in the room, you'll get the information. If not, we post it. And we don't post it every day, but we're going to keep the spreadsheet pretty current now that we've moved to a new website. And this is the software. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. It's just a little bit easier to read on the new website. But it's nothing different than on the old. And here's the trades. Yes, you can trade 2 contracts per trade, and it does the entire entry exit hands off. Hands off, Arthur. So if there are any other questions, just give me a call. If I can find the phone number, Rory will be here, I'll be here. Here's our number, 786-713-5276. This is still our email, our web address, and still our email. And you're just welcome to call us. And we will configure everything for you. You don't have to worry about the tech end. So listen, thanks so much for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. Our goal really is to make you money. You're also going to be in the trading room, and you can take my trades on a discretionary basis as well. And we've been doing awesome in the trading room. Now, this has been a hard week because the E-mini is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And it's been daunting to our software, but we've reconfigured it. Now it doesn't stick. We're getting 2 or 3 candles at a time. And we've solved that issue. So thanks, everyone. Have a really, really great afternoon. And I look forward to, hopefully you'll come aboard. And I'll see you in the trading room. Take care, everyone. Have a great, great afternoon. Bye-bye.